Cicadas, for me at least, make a very nostalgic sound. I can remember spending many evenings outside catching fireflies while cicadas are singing in the background. It makes me think of easier times. But when you really think about it, a cicada's cry can be quite unsettling. Cicadas can sing up to 120 decibels, which is equivalent to the amount of noise a chainsaw can make. And when a forest is populated with hundreds of these screaming insects, nothing else can be heard, whether that's footsteps or screams. The visual novel, Higurashi no Naku Koro ni, utilizes the hidden horror of cicada cries and other ambient noises to enhance its immersion for the reader. With this, Higurashi proves that a large team and a high budget isn't necessary to create a masterpiece in the visual novel industry. But before I get any further into the topic, I should explain exactly what visual novels and Higurashi are. A visual novel is a form of media that tells a story through images, text, and audio, while generally giving the player choices to influence the main character's path. Originally, visual novels were extensions of text-based choose-your-own-adventure games. The first recorded visual novel is a game for the Apple II called Mystery House. It was released in 1980 and has the player typing in commands to catch a murderer. But in the past 30 years, Japan has produced the majority of all visual novels, thus instating them as a major part of the country's video game culture. Nowadays, visual novels have completely branched off from text-based adventure games. Instead of typing commands, the gameplay generally consists of given choices or mini-games to progress the story. For example, a recently famous visual novel called Doki Doki Literature Club has you play poem-writing mini-games to decide what story route the reader will go down. But many visual novels, including Higurashi, are linear, meaning there is no gameplay or choices. The sole purpose is to tell a story, and in that way, it's no different than a book or movie. But Higurashi isn't quite a visual novel. It lies in a subgenre called sound novels. Sound novels are very similar to visual novels, but with one key difference. They rely on sound to carry the reader's experience. This is why Higurashi uses ambient noises like cicadas to build suspense during intense or unnerving portions of dialogue. The word Higurashi is actually the Japanese name for a species of cicada. The full Japanese title, Higurashi no Naku Koro ni, translates to Higurashi when they cry, referring to the noise cicadas make. A sound novel is nothing without the novel part though, and Higurashi goes above and beyond when it comes to good writing. Higurashi was written over the course of 4 years, and released in 8 separate chapters. The story takes place in the small village of Hinamizawa during June of 1983, shortly after the main character befriends his classmates. While playing, you learn of many mysterious disappearances and murders involving the townsfolk and their guardian deity Oyashiro-sama. There are many secrets to unearth and twisted storylines to read, making the series very interesting. I don't want to spoil anything, because going into the series as blind as possible is the best thing to do, and I think anyone even slightly interested should give it a read. So now, I'll go back to the main topic. Higurashi revolutionized the visual novel industry by proving that with a good story and a lot of hard work, anyone can create something successful. With its lackluster art and cheap design, the series found a cult following due to its mysterious story and immersive audio. Rukishi07, the creator and author of the Higurashi series, found that the most successful novels were those of the Nakige genre. Nakige is a story that starts out seemingly normal, but becomes shockingly sad. Instead of making people sad, Rukushi07 wanted to put his own spin on the genre, by instead shocking the reader with horror. This happy to scary writing gave the series its reputation as the one with cute girls that kill each other. Actually, hearing the series described somewhat like this is what caused me to check it out in the first place. But a visual novel requires a lot more than a good story to be successful. It needs to look appealing too. Rukishi07 had the story part figured out, but he didn't have the money to produce what would be considered a high-quality visual novel. Higurashi was developed by the studio's 07th expansion, which originally consisted of 3 members: Rukishi07, his brother Yadazakura, and his friend BT. BT did the programming for minigames that were included in the original releases of the Higurashi installments. Yadazakura helped out with various things, but he mostly polished up scripts. Rukishi07 drew all of the character sprites himself, and did most of the scripting and programming for the visual novel. He wasn't exactly an artist by trade though. Before making Higurashi, he had established a cutesy art style of his own by making custom cards at Comic-Con, which is a convention centered around selling self-published works. But when comparing his art to something professionally done, like DDLC, or even the series' later character redraws, a clear difference in quality is shown. And due to limited resources, he made a stylistic choice that I think was ingenious. Unlike most visual novels that have illustrated backgrounds, The background images in Higurashi are all slightly blurred images of real photos that Rikishi07 went out and took with his brother. Personally, I think this adds a lot to the immersion and even makes the game significantly more scary at certain parts. Now, the sound design is where all the outsourcing went. During the early stages of development, Rikishi07 tried to reach out to teams and artists for music, but most people denied working with him because they thought he was making an eroge game. Even though Higurashi isn't an eroge, which is a genre that contains sexual content, Rikishi07 was trying to make the game appear to be a galgay or bishoujo game at first glance. Galgay and bishoujo are essentially a dating sim visual novel experience where the main character interacts with pretty girls. So at first glance, it makes sense that the game could easily be mistaken for eroge. Rikishi07 even responded to being asked about the eroge appearance of the game in an interview by saying, "That's why I wanted to make the CD cover like a regular galgay. If you start playing it thinking that it's a normal dating sim, for me, it is the most ideal scenario." This did force Rikishi07 to use a lot of royalty-free music and sounds early in the series, until the studio brought on a musician. Higurashi wasn't an instant success though. This is where the hard work and determination of 07th expansion really begins to shine, and in my opinion where the team really becomes an inspiration to aspiring game creators. After finishing the first chapter of the game, Rikishi07 brought 100 copies to sell at Comic-Con 62. He attempted to sell these copies at 100 yen a piece, or about $1. Even with an insanely low price like that, they couldn't sell out. So, Rikishi07 started packing them in with his custom card orders, and would play it off as if it was an accident. He would even promise the next chapter for free to people that gave feedback on the game. Until the release of Chapter 4, the Higurashi games were lucky to get 100 to 200 sales at Comic-Con, but that all changed after BT convinced Rikishi07 to release a demo of the first chapter online. Around Chapter 3's release, Higurashi started to gain some popularity online, which is why BT wanted to release a demo and make the game more accessible. In an unfortunate turn of events, Rikishi07 ended up getting a call from BT telling him, "I have to apologize, some evil programmer has unlocked the data in the trial version." Hundreds of people on the internet now had access to the first 3 chapters of Higurashi all for free because the demo had data for chapters 2 and 3 in it. In reality, this actually just made the series more popular and caused Chapter 4 to officially blow up. Since then, the series has only continued to gain fans in different adaptations of the story, from live-action series to CD dramas. Higurashi made a name for itself. With little to no previous knowledge of creating sound novels, 07th expansion put their dreams to work and created a masterpiece, which is something I think everyone is capable of. Obviously, reaching the same level of success as Higurashi isn't a given. With anything famous, there's some luck involved. But regardless, everyone has the ability to create whatever type of visual or sound novel they want, and I think the story of Higurashi's development can be a beacon of light to anyone wanting to make a visual novel. 07th expansion proves that money, experience, and a large team aren't necessary to create true entertainment. With an idea and enough effort, anything is possible. People just need to follow in 07th expansion's footsteps. Never give up, think outside the box, and take advice from others, even if the project doesn't seem successful at first. Like with Higurashi, it may take a few releases in a couple of years, but if the content is unique, there's bound to be someone that's interested. And who knows, maybe it'll become the next big thing. Thanks for watching.